Broadcasting from London, Ontario, Canada, this is Journeys with the No Schedule Man, where we are celebrating and sharing the significance of our true selves and stories as we look to stand out, connect, and grow in the manner that we desire and deserve. Welcome. My name is Kevin Bulmer. Today, Gaurav Shinde, who, when you meet him, you'll see he seems to be a very well-adjusted, pleasant young man. But his goals, dreams, and aspirations are things that, we'll just say that he and I don't have the same adventures in mind. But he is the sort that somebody like me really wants to live vicariously through as he gets set to get back out on a boat, an older boat, without much current technology at all to navigate with, and go out on the ocean all by himself. We're going to call it Around the World at Sea Alone. Sounds like an absolutely lovely time, doesn't it? It's a heck of a tale and a wonderful adventure that he has got lined up for himself. And I'm really grateful to Gaurav for agreeing to come on to this podcast and tell the tale. And we're going to talk to Gaurav in just a couple of moments. First, I want to introduce you to Carol Trickett from Trickett Financial. You can learn more about Carol and what she does with insurance and investments for Canadians and newcomers to Canada at trickettfinancial.com. Carol, thank you for making it possible for us to do this podcast. Also, really appreciate Susan Aluk from Travel Agents in Action. Now, Susan is a fully TICO certified travel agent. She's a destination, weddings, and romantic travel specialist. She also specializes in many types of travel like cruises, river cruises, Ireland, Italy, Caribbean islands. I'm wondering, though, if she has ever specialized in traveling around the world in a boat by herself. I'll have to ask Susan that. Maybe you want to call Gaurav if you want advice for that. Here's something else, though, related to the work that Susan does. She's a certified travel agent in special needs and a certified autism travel professional as well. I highly encourage you to reach out to Susan if you have any kind of travel coming up, and you can find her online at foreverpreciousmemories.ca. Connect One Consulting is the place to go if you're looking to expand your professional network, grow your business, find a new career. Perhaps you want to be more active in your community or help others in need. These are all things that can benefit from connecting, from networking, from building new relationships. And Gord Fancher at Connect One Consulting can definitely help you with that. If you call Gord for coaching or to be brought into your group, company, or organization, I know that he'll help you out. You can find out more at connectoneconsulting.com. Thanks also to Brett and the team at Provincial Glass and Mirror. They're based here in London, Ontario, Canada, a professional full-service glass company owned and operated right here in southwestern Ontario. You can find out more at provincialglass.com. I've had a video up on my Facebook page, facebook.com/noscheduleman, where I chatted with Laura Ma at her location at Diamond and Gold Treasures. And I've seen a lot of comments from Laura's friends and clients and customers and family members who really appreciate who she is and the job that she's doing, stretching beyond her comfort zone and doing a terrific job marketing and advertising her business and growing her business just by being who she is. I encourage you to go and have a look at that video. It's just me and Laura sitting together and having a chat. We shot more video that day, and you'll see more of it on my Facebook page coming up. And in the meantime, I encourage you to connect with Laura at diamondsgold.com. You can see there on the screen. And Mo Mondays London. It's like TEDx meets The Tonight Show with a little bit of Muppet Show tossed in. It is hosted by yours truly. We get 4 different storytellers plus myself together once a month at a wonderful place called the London Music Club. And we each share a story and what we learned from it, a triumph, a challenge. It always comes back around to being uplifting. And if you like this, the storytelling from Journeys with the No Schedule Man, you will love Mo Mondays London, where we get together to connect, encourage, inspire, and empower. And you can learn more at momondays.com/London. Our guest today, I only learned about because of Mo Mondays. So thank goodness I took that on, because it has helped to introduce me to people like Gaurav Shinde. And in turn, I get the opportunity to introduce him to you. And he told the basics of of his story at Mo Mondays in August, I think it was. But that wasn't nearly enough for me. I was left with more questions than answers just because of the scope of it is a little bit mind bending to me. And you're going to get to share in that story now. So pull up a chair, grab a cup of tea. You're going to love this, and you're going to love this guy. Gaurav, what in the world? Hello, by the way, and thank you for making the time to do this. I appreciate you. You're all comfy and ready to tell your tale?
Oh, I am. Thank you so much for having me. This is a pleasure, and I really enjoyed talking to you so many times. So, yeah, this is going to be fun.
Look how calm and down to earth he looks. He's the sort of guy that you want to sit beside in the subway. You see him sitting there at the Tim Hortons. You want to grab the seat next to him and I would never think, Gaurav, that like I'm picturing the adventures, some of them that you've talked about, being out in the sea alone. And I just, I can't even imagine what it takes to have the guts to do that. Now, I don't know whether I expect that you should be like covered in tattoos and have like a beard with trinkets hanging from it, like Captain Jack Sparrow, but you look remarkably calm and, dare I say, normal to be doing something that I have trouble wrapping my head around. What was it that first appealed to you about getting out on the water? What's your first memory of that?
Um, First memory would be just going to the beach. My father would take me to the beach a lot, and that was it's just you just see the horizon and think about what's beyond that. And then at the age of 11, my father started taking me um, to this non-governmental organization called the Sea Cadet Corps. They actually have a branch here in London as well. Uh, so I joined that, and it was just amazing. It opened up my eyes to a completely different world altogether. And at the age of 11, you're learning so much. You're learning how to be at sea. You're learning how to march, how to play a bugle in a band. You're going through physical fitness, and you're just spending 5 hours on weekends just marching and doing drills. Marching with guns, and it's at that age it's so intriguing. And then you get to go on a sailboat, and the Secret Co was a very special organization. The subscription for a year is 100 rupees, which is $2 in today's time, and you get to sail these boats which cost a lot. So I used to, and because they had to keep the cost down, they would make the kids at my age learn how to build boats and build their own boats which they could sail on. So it was just learning across the board. And then the organization was structured as a naval ship. So you get a rank when you join in. You are a petty officer. You are a able cadet. Then you are a senior able cadet. Then a petty officer. Then you become a midshipman. Then you start becoming a lieutenant as you grow older in the organization. So it was just a mix of all those things. And they would take you out to sailing championships outside, and you would be surrounded by these amazing people who could do amazing things, and that just changed my entire life.
Okay, that was a lot to digest. And then
Yes.
when you say that it changed your entire life, now I'm going to drop all that and ask how.
So if I have to be honest, my father retired last year, and he was earning 12,000 rupees a month, which is $210 a month. That is at the age of 65, he was earning that much. So
Wow.
he wasn't. And my mother was earning pretty much about the same. So that's the amount of money our family lived in. And for someone like that to have access to sailboats, which cost uh, millions of Indian rupees, was impossible. And this organization gave me the chance to do that. And then every batch of students who went to the Secret Corps used to be 500 people. So you meet 500 different people from different walks of life, and that's when things change. I came abroad. I was the first person in my family or even my extended community come abroad to study. And that was one of the effects of having joined the Sea Cadet Corps, having joined sailing through the Sea Cadet Corps. And it just expanded my horizons. I would have never thought of doing such things. I would have never thought about sailing. uh, I don't think anyone my age and in the kind of family I live in would think about purchasing a boat and sailing around the world. And then it opened up many more things. I started climbing, I started doing more adventurous things, which just wouldn't have ever come if I had not started sailing in my life.
Is it about sailing and about being on the water in particular, among all of those other things and the adventures that you've dabbled in? What is
Yeah.
it about the sailing that keeps calling to you so strongly, Gaurav?
Uh, I grew up extremely scared of the water. And
Really?
the first time I went out sailing, I was scared. And I think after that, I just kept going sailing because I wanted to overcome that. And it's it was for someone like me that world was so out of place. I was so out of place that I just wanted to learn more, do more. The first, I would go out sailing 1 mile outside, then 2 miles, then 3 miles, and then you want to see what's across the harbor. You want to go out there and you want to sail faster. It's just, uh, my father never had a vehicle till I bought one after I started working at the year 22. So we never had those things in our lives. So this is the only vehicle I had in my life growing up. So it was just, that was a different world. I was different reality for me from my actual life back home.
How do I'm trying to think of how to ask this, Gaurav. Where
Yeah.
I'm going is you're here now in London, Ontario, Canada,
Yes.
and you explained about um, going away from home to study abroad. And I'm wondering how, if at all, those two things correlate of your aspirations to sail around the world and also being here now in North America as opposed to being at home, or are those just kind of two separate trajectories that have to happen to be different parts of your personal journey?
I would say they are pretty much interconnected. I think and when I went out sailing for the first time in a round the world yacht race, I decided I didn't want to go back home. I had spent 25 years living in a country, and I wanted to explore new horizons. And that's when I decided that Canada would be a great place to go to. Uh, and also, I think living in Canada enables me to explore my sailing a lot more than living in India would have. I think I wouldn't have been able to afford a boat. I wouldn't have been able to afford sponsoring my own race at this point if I was in India, because it's yeah, things are very different over there. Like, I bought a boat recently, and if I had to buy a boat in India, I would have had to go to Europe or Australia to find a boat and then sail it across to India and then pay custom duties, which are huge over there, which would just absolutely make me broke. And there was no boat building organizations in India which build this kind of boats. So I think this community is very small about sailing, and uh, there's not much there. I think that's why I came here. I decided I had to move outside. I had to find a good job to get a good education, which would enable me to fund my own adventures without having to look for sponsor or without having to think twice about doing that.
I'm curious about when it came, if you can recall, when it first came across your awareness, the opportunity to sail around the world by yourself. Now, you've done that already as part of a relay, have you not?
I did part of a race, which I didn't complete the circumnavigation, but I did a few legs of the Clipper around the world yacht race.
Okay, so
Mm.
here's where I'm sitting in just a place of ignorance about
Yeah.
what you do. I'm thinking there are people who enjoy being on the water. Some people they like to canoe. Some like motorboats, yachts. Some like sailing.
Yep.
Then from there, there's pleasure boating. There is using it as part of a lifestyle. Then there's more of an adventure type spirit, I would guess. And then I'm just guessing, Gaurav, and please throw something at me or correct me when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But the group of people that it would even occur to them to think about spending an extended time on a boat by themselves, let alone circumnavigating the globe, must be a very small percentage of people that ever go out on the water. Am I even close?
Yes, so I can give you some facts actually. So
Please.
around 5,000 or more people have climbed Mount Everest till date. Around 550 to 600 people have been to space, and around between 90 to 100 people have sailed around the world solo nonstop. So that's how small that gang of people is.
How
And
many did you say have 200 to
90 to 100.
90 to 100?
Yep. And yeah, that's how it tells you it's how small a gang of people that is, and that's what the attraction is. Like apart from the fact that yeah, it's a fantastic achievement to do. It's going to be a lovely time out there on the water because I absolutely love being at sea. But it's also being part of that elite group, and people can say a lot of romantic things about, oh, I wanted to sailing around the world for those things, but no, it's about the need of people like me, some people like me, some people like me from the background we come from, to prove it that we can do a lot more and we can be part of a very small elite group of people who do such things. And I want to be part of that. And I've never been shy about saying that it's as much about fame as it is about um, the adventure and the love for the sport.
Take me back then, if you would, Gaurav, to what you remember about being introduced to this world for the first time, of it even coming across your awareness, as I mentioned before,
Yeah.
that this was something that you could do. How did that come about in your life, and how did it feel?
So this is an interesting story. I have a very good friend back home who used to help me in sailing. Called his name is Sandeep Matre. He was an excellent sailor. He is the best sailor I know in my life. The best seaman, actually, more than a sailor. And So he said there's this race from Cochin, which is a southern Indian town, to Lakshadweep, which is a small group of islands just north of the Maldives chain of islands. And he said, do you want to come with me? I was like, of course, why not? Let's go for it. And then he says, I asked, do you have a boat for it? Yes, I have a boat for it. And then I traveled 1,600 kilometers to Koche in the back of a truck, a lorry with the boat in the back, and we travel all the way. Um, and we get there, and the boat is leaking. The boat has problems, and the boat is not ready for that voyage. And honestly, I was not ready at the age of 20 for that voyage. I've never done such a long voyage, which is 800 miles across the Arabian Sea. And then we go out. First night is all fantastic, all rosy. We have good food. Next morning, the first storm hits. We lose our steering, and it's madness in the boat. I am so we are a team of four because no one wanted to sail with Sandeep. So him and me are the only sailors. The two other people are non-sailors. One is a bartender. The fourth person is one of the sponsors who paid for it, and he doesn't speak English or our local language. So zero communication there, and these two are frozen shut. I am throwing up, and Sandeep is the only one in charge. So in that state of complete chaos, I had to start helping Sandeep, and I helped him, and then we got the boat across the sea, and lo and behold, we beat everyone else. There were 8 entries, 7 entries from the Indian Navy, fancy boats. We had a 50-year-old boat, and we beat them by 16 hours. And it was just the feeling was fantastic of having done that. And then at the stopover during that race, I met Commander Dilip Dhonde at that point. Now I think he's a retired captain. uh, he was the first Indian to sail solo solo with stops around the world, and he hadn't started his journey at that point. But he said, "I'm building a boat and I'm going to go sail around the world solo, go around all the capes." And that was that night. It was decided that I'm going to sail around the world solo nonstop.
Wow. I'm just trying to decide which I want to ask you first. You said that that was a 50-year-old boat that
Yeah,
you and Sandeep and the other a bartender.
yeah,
What does it? I don't want to take up a lot of time on this, but I'm
yeah.
wondering, like, what's a bartender want to do that for? Like 800 miles across the Arabian Sea, but just for something to do. I admire the spirit, though. But when
Oh
you
yeah.
talked about the storm breaking out and how when you first got out there and things were going along just swell, and then the storm breaks out and all hell breaks loose. For somebody that's listening or watching that's like me that can't even imagine themselves out on the water, that's only really maybe seen scenes in movies and documentaries and things like that. How would you describe what that's like being out in a violent storm in the open ocean?
I don't know. I don't know how people would describe it. For me, it was very different. Um, I think after the first point when I started throwing up, after that, um, it was a bubble that I got into, and I keep talking about that even now. A bubble formed around me where it was uh, everything just happened in fast forward. But and that was my first storm, so that's it. Just it was weird. It was just this, and I was just doing things, completely ignoring what is happening outside. But then I've seen storms beyond that after that, and they were violent. I think I remember my storm in the Clipper around the world race in the North Pacific. It's violent. It's 30 to 40 foot waves, probably more. Who's going to measure that? But it's just wave after wave after wave of 5, 6 stories. You can't see the boat in front of you when you go down a wave, and it's scary. It's you question your decisions in life, and it's the wind is there, the chill is there. I don't know how I can describe it. It's just you do question your own mortality, and that's a scary feeling to have. But I don't know. People like me enjoy it.
It amazes me as you described 40, 50-foot waves. For instance, what is the length of the boat that you were on at that time?
So in that time, it was a 70 foot boat. But the first storm I ever saw in that small boat race, it was a 20 foot boat, and the waves were not that big, but they were quite high. So a 70 foot boat is a lot stable in those waves, but a 21 foot boat is just not stable. It's first of all, it's not supposed to be there. It's not supposed to be at sea. The boat we took out was not supposed to be sailed 5 miles outside the shore, and we were taking it 800 miles outside. So yeah,
There are a whole bunch of questions I could ask you about why you did that, but we'll never
yeah.
get to we'll never get to 2022. When you another part that you mentioned about that voyage with Sandeep is that that you beat the other boats by, I think you said 16 hours.
Yes.
So, and granted, I'm guessing that the storm was just one part of it, obviously, but and forgive my ignorance, and to those who are watching and listening who know your the activity inside out, I'm going to speak with ignorance and abundance,
Yep.
and I'll admit that now, and I apologize to people who know the activity through and through. But I'm wondering about when you're in a storm like that, how much of it are you just along for the ride, and how much of it is the survival and the caring for the boat, like weathering it through the storm? How much of that can be affected by the skill of the sailors?
A lot. Survival in a storm is a skill in itself. I think if you see the last Golden Globe race, out of the 18, only five finished. I think a few of them capsized in storms. Some of them, any amount of skill is not going to help because Nature is violent. Nature has holds the upper hand out there, and it'll just get you. But there are people who survived in those situations. Uh, so I think it's what I call seamanship takes over in those situations where it's all your experience, all the times you've been through similar things come together, and you make decisions which are in line with your experience, which help you survive. Uh, People like me are a special bunch. We don't think about survival as much. Uh, we think about how fast we can go, how we can use that storm to go faster and faster. And that's what happened in that race. In that race, the night before finishing, we were not in contention for winning. But what happened is the storm came, everyone got stuck. Some people went into survival mode, some people went shit their bricks, took their sails down. We went full steam ahead. We were awake for 24 hours straight, sailing through the storm, uh, sailing the boat like a dinghy. So dinghy sailing is like Olympic sailing where you go really, really fast. And we were sailing this boat, which was actually a dinghy, but at the on the high seas, as fast as it was like 1.5 times the speed it's supposed to go at, and we were just pushing it, and we almost so sails and mast, the wires that keep them up. I have a picture of that they were being getting uprooted from the deck because we had pushed the boat that fast. But fortunately, we finished. We won.
What's the, for a layman like me, for somebody that doesn't understand, what are the fundamental differences between being out there with someone else and maybe even a number of people, even if they're bartenders? I'm guessing the bartender and the other person who didn't speak English maybe weren't a whole lot of help in the storm. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. But for you and Sandeep, to have somebody else to work with or a team of people to work with versus navigating the seas when you're by yourself, whether they're calm or in the middle of a storm, how does the mindset and the action set of how you navigate that boat, what are the fundamental differences with doing that?
So when you're alone, you can't blame anyone. You can't blame the bartender for being dead weight, or you can't blame the person who can't speak English for being dead weight. So you're on your own, and it's all your decisions. It's you. You are the one who's going to pull the sail down, take the decisions, pull the rope. So yeah, there's no option. It's uh, that's that, and that small cube, which is the boat, is your entire world. And that is the only thing keeping you from death. So you keep the boat afloat and moving so that you live and you finish and you win.
The living part sounds appealing. The winning part also sounds appealing. But as I'm listening to you tell these tales, Gaurav, and thanks again for sharing, I'm envisioning, or I guess I'm trying to get inside your head of what the appeal is for going on such an epic adventure alone. Because I'm also thinking that sailing out there in tandem with someone else or maybe a team, there must be a real exhilaration to that as well in getting in sync and working as a tandem and navigating your way through a situation like what you've described, 40, 50-foot waves. I can't even imagine. And then at the same time, I would think working through the tension of the times when you wouldn't agree versus when you're by yourself, you call the shots, but as you say, it's on your own. But I wonder if there aren't maybe some times when you wish there might be somebody else there that could make the decision for you because there's nobody else to do it but you. So I guess what I'm getting around at is, how did you decide that ultimately going and doing this kind of thing, but doing it by yourself, was something that you really wanted to experience?
I think, yeah, I would totally love to have a team. It's like if you play soccer, uh, like there's a second wind at the last 15 minutes if you get three substitutes on, and they just change the game entirely. But sailing solo has its appeal. It's as I said, very few people have done it in the world, and the kind of race that we are in. only 6 people have ever finished in that manner. So being the seventh person to finish in that manner definitely is appealing. Um, and yeah, I don't know how I can describe that, but it is a feeling of independence, a feeling of not being reliant, 9 months of not having to deal with cash, credit cards, payments, bills, um, not deal with people, not deal with politicians, not deal with. You are in the international waters. You are the citizen of the ocean, not a citizen of a country at that point. And it's just freedom. I think uh, if you have someone to take decisions for you, it takes away that feeling of sense of achievement. I think if I do it all alone, everything, every good decision, every bad decision is mine. I don't have anyone to blame. And when I win, it's mine. It's truly mine.
I'm going to restate, if you'll indulge me, Gaurav, and for anyone who's just joining us, some of your friends in the sailing community are probably well aware of this, but many of the people that I know that have maybe tuned into this conversation will not realize this. And I remember you sharing this at Mo Mondays London, but I think it's important to restate. Climbing Mount Everest is a ridiculous thing to consider. As far as I'm concerned, like the odds of getting up there, there are, I don't know how many bodies that are encased in ice up there that aren't ever coming down. But you said it was roughly 5,000 people that have done that. The idea of going to space. I know Elon Musk is doing his best to make this number go up. I can't even imagine going on what's the thing called that they have down at Epcot Center in Florida, Mission Space, I think. You wouldn't
Yep.
get me in that. I'd get so claustrophobic. But as you said, somewhere between 550 and 600 people ever that have been to space. And you said between 90 and 100 people that have sailed around the world.
Solo
In all of,
nonstop.
yes, okay, solo nonstop. Thank you.
Yeah.
But then and setting up to what you're getting to for this race that you're preparing for in 2022, I think I heard you say that only 6 people, did I hear you correctly? 6 people have finished in the manner that we're going to describe, because there are some considerations to it. I'm just going to suggest, if you're watching or listening, think about that for a second. 6 people. So like the odds, Gaurav, of you not making it, or I guess the odds of maybe not even starting are astronomically high. And then when you go into, and forgive me for taking over the conversation here, but I'm trying to, this 9 months of nothing but just being with yourself and on the boat. I wanted to ask about, how does your wife feel about that? I'm guessing she knew that you had this affliction before you came together. But I mean, I've got questions like, even like, how much food do you pack at a time? Like how long do you set your provisions for? Because I'm guessing you would you'd chart a course to go to the next landfall or whatever it is. But how do you even do that?
You don't. You just take a ballpark number. So last,
You don't.
yeah. So last race, the fastest time was 211 days. So I'll probably take 220 days, expecting that I'll finish it in 190 days and then beat him by 20 days, but then still have 30 days of extra food left. So that's how you calculate. It's a competition. You don't go in thinking that you're going to finish. You go thinking you're going to be first, and that's how I'm thinking about it. I'm not. And then if I at some point I realize I'm going to take more than 220 days, I start rationing or I start fishing. Um,
So
there was there's a
can
yeah.
I interrupt you for a
Okay.
second? Are you suggesting then that you're trying to provision the boat enough to last you the entire journey?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. If I finish in 190 days, which I will, or fewer days, and yeah. So yes, as I said, the last winner was 211 days. So I'm going to provision 190 days plus 1 month extra.
Okay, so I'm just trying to process this. It's settling into me listening to you share that this is a race that we're talking about.
Yes.
I'm thinking about you sort of Jimmy Buffett style, trying to keep land in sight as best you can because you're on this older boat without current navigational equipment. We haven't even gotten to that part yet. We will here in just a moment. But no, you're you're putting the hammer down on this thing.
Yes.
Like I'm thinking, I'm going out there. I want to make sure I've got lots and lots of fresh water to drink, but that stuff's heavy.
Yes.
You don't want to get stuck out on the water on the sea without fresh water to drink. I'm guessing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna fill my tanks half when I leave, and then expect to catch rain. Uh, if I don't catch rain, I'm screwed. But that's the way it is.
Okay, can we? I absolutely love you and I admire you. Let's, if you don't mind, let's talk about this race and let's set the ground rules for what has to happen. If you would please, Gaurav, if you
Yeah.
can describe for people that are joining us here about the boat, about what you're allowed to use, what you're specifically not supposed to use. What is it that makes this so special and so difficult to the point where only 6 people have ever finished a race like this under these rules? What are the rules?
So it's a long keel boat. Long keel is basically a slower but more safer boat, as they would call it. Some people don't think they are safe, but they have to be between 36 and 32 and 36 foot long. They have to be designs that were designed before 1988, I guess, and could be built now, but they are older designs. And they all these boats have to have at least 20 boats built, so they have to be production boats so that uh, it's known for its reliability, and it has to be more than 6,200 kgs. Uh, and then you start from France. You sail the Atlantic Ocean south below Africa, turn east, sail across the Indian Ocean below Australia. You go into Hobart, Hobart, and there is a small interview taken at sea while you are just anchored there outside the harbor for some time, for an hour, and then you leave again, and then you sail east below New Zealand in the Southern Ocean, in the Southern Pacific Ocean, to Cape Horn, which is the southernmost point of of South America, and then you turn north, sail back to France. So that's the journey, roughly 25 to 27,000 miles. You cannot use any modern equipment which was there before 1969. uh, you can use only equipment which was before 1969, so use a sextant and paper charts for navigation. You do not use GPS, you do not use water makers to create water, you catch rainwater, you carry your own food. What else would there be? You don't have you're not allowed to speak to anyone on land. You're not allowed to speak to the race office. You can allowed to speak to mariners. Anyone at sea you can speak to, but you're not allowed to communicate with land without the permission of the race office. And what else? You can't use your engine. You can use you have a 20 gallons of fuel minimum, which is not going to last you a long time. Um, yeah, that's that.
That's it.
Yep.
Sounds like you can't speak to anyone on land.
Yep.
Do you have
So
a
because
radio? Are you allowed to have a radio in the boat?
yeah, yes. So I'm allowed to have a single sideband radio and a ham radio. So when I go out sailing, you can probably dial me up and say things to me. The problem is I can't say things back to you. So I can hear your voice, you probably can't. But then you have to wait for once a week. I'm going to have a safety call with the race office, which will be streamed live, and once a week, a media house can call me up and take an interview with me live. So that's allowed, but there's no real communication with the outside world.
So
I
no
can
cell
speak.
phone, huh?
No cell phone. That's sealed and packed and put inside. If I pick the seal, I'm out of the race. And I can speak to anyone at sea. So last race, what happened is there was a sailor called Abhilash Tommy from India. Was a very good friend of mine. So so because a lot of merchant navy sailors in the world are Indians, one of the captains patched him up through a satellite phone with his wife. So that is allowed. So if I find of someone at sea who could patch me up with you, I can probably do another podcast from sea.
I was thinking about, I appreciate that. I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, how long before does your wife have to go before she hears from you? What's it going to be like for her?
Fun. No, I think we're all prepared for it, and I think that is 3 years to prepare for all those things, and I
Yeah.
think the family is in uh, the race together. Yeah, as I said, like I am going to feel like I won it by myself, but I'm sure there's an angle where family support is there, and we are all going to win it together.
There are, as I think you've seen, because you've come out to a few of the Mo Mondays London events.
Yeah,
I've been hearing about you from people when I run across them in conversation, Gaurav. The community
yeah,
is building. People are interested and they're rooting for you. And as you have been sharing more of the journey about finding the boat, and we'll get to that in detail in just another moment. And as it develops, it's really exciting. I think it brings people together, and I give you a lot of credit for that. And I think that is equal parts the enormity of the adventure that you're taking on, but just as much you and who you are as a person, and how we feel when we're around you. And I think the world needs more people like you. Um,
are you
I
sure?
want to. We'll see. You've told you that's what I always thought since the
Yeah.
first time we talked. But you've told me some things here in the last 10 or 15 minutes that I got to be honest, had me scratching my head a little bit. Like so, for instance, no GPS. Now, a sextant, I've read about that in pirate books. I think I've seen that in Mutiny on the Bounty. That's where you take the little instrument and you navigate by the stars, correct?
The sun.
Oh, by the sun.
The sun is a star. Okay, sorry.
Okay, well, I'm not going to get all astrological on you here.
Yep.
It's just I'm trying to help non-sailors understand what it is that you're up against, and
Yeah.
I hope that, just to recap, you had said that this boat, it's got to be the design, a pre-1988 design. It has to weigh at least 6,200 kilograms. So I guess that the weight is even, because I'm amongst all competitors, because the heavier the boat, the slower you go, I'm guessing.
My vote is the heaviest.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the fastest though. Don't worry about it.
Okay, we'll talk about the boat in a moment. No modern equipment. It's got to be pre-1969. You can't make your own water. How far away from land are you going to be at any given time? Like, are you going to be completely out in open ocean where you can't see land?
Yes, I don't think I'll see land after I leave France. I won't see land till I might cross a few islands here and there, but I won't see land till I hit Cape Town for the first time, where we have a film drop. So I'm gonna have film which I've made, which I'll drop off to one of the race organizers at sea, and they'll take it away. The second is Hobart when we do that, and the third is when we round the Cape Horn in South America. But if I wasn't stopping it, if I was doing a proper non-stop race, I don't think we would go to Cape Town or anything. So the first and the last time I would see land would be the starting point. And I think when we are in the Pacific, we will hit Point Nemo. Point Nemo is where no where the astronauts are closer to land than I am to any piece of land in the world.
I want to apologize again to the people in the community that you're a part of, Gaurav, that know this well. It's sometimes insufferable to me when I watch interviews and conversations with people on a subject that I'm interested in, and the interviewer has no idea what he or she is talking about. When I do this, podcast, I do that deliberately because I want to ask the questions that maybe are on the minds of people that don't have that intimate knowledge. But I want to own that. If you're
Yeah.
screaming, if you're watching or listening to this and you're just
No.
screaming, "What an idiot!" I get it, and I agree with you. Thank you for indulging me on behalf of the other people that don't know about what you're doing. I want to throw two words at you with a big question mark behind it.
Yep.
Cape Horn.
Yes.
Isn't that the one that's just like an absolute nasty bitch of a ride that can take you like 2 weeks to get through?
Yeah. It's so as if you see the map of the world, that's where land comes very close to each other, and the and because the way the Earth is rotating, the it the water is just funneling into that uh, small outlet between America and Antarctica. So waves are big. Many ships over centuries have known to be shipwrecked over there. That is the one thing that every sailor who sails around the world concentrates on from the moment he leaves till the moment he crosses Cape Horn. As Sir Robin Knox Johnson, the first person to sail around the world, would say, it's a bastard of a place. And it actually is. If So, I've been in the North Pacific. I've been in the Southern Ocean. I've never been around the Cape Horn, um, and the Southern Ocean and the North Pacific were violent enough. Cape Horn is probably 2x, and that's going to be a fun ride.
I don't know how much truth there is in this fiction. I'm reminded of a scene in one of my favorite films, which is The Bounty, which is a telling of the mutiny on the Bounty, and it's the version of it where Anthony Hopkins plays Captain Bligh and Mel Gibson is Fletcher Christian. And I like watching that movie. If you'll allow me this diversion, Gaurav, while we're on the subject of Cape Horn, but I like watching that movie just because of Anthony Hopkins' acting is incredible. And one of the things that character is bound and bent on doing, I guess, is circumnavigating the globe. And to do that, they've got to sail around Cape Horn. Yes. And I can't remember what it is in the film, but I mean, it's just beating the hell out of the crew. And have you seen this film? I'm guessing you have.
I have, but I don't remember much.
Been a while. It's where the crew is demoralized. They're soaking wet. They've probably been up for a week at a time, because I don't know how you would ever sleep when the boat is pitching and rolling and getting thrown about like that. That in 2 weeks they'd gone something like 2 miles. I can't remember what it was. If that, I mean, is that an exaggeration? That you could really get beat up and hardly make any progress at all over the period of a week or two?
That could be anywhere in the world. Depends on the angle of the wind and the waves and how the conditions are. So there could be times where there have been, like, there's a documentary of Sir Robin Knox Johnston. He goes around Cape Horn with Skip Novak, who's a big time sailor. Sir Robin Knox Johnston was the first one to sail around the world, and he takes 2 adventurers. I think Ranulph Fiennes, who went all the way to the North Pole solo and South Pole solo on foot, and one journalist, I don't remember his name, who was a BBC journalist, and he takes all 3 of them sailing there. And he's had nasty experiences all his life, and that one day when he's taking someone else with him, it's absolutely calm and it's smooth sailing. So yeah, Cape Horn and nature have their favorites and people they don't like. So I hope they love Cape Horn, and the sea loves me.
How could you not love Gaurav? So it's possible then for the seas to be calm when you reach there?
Oh, absolutely. There are some good days. I hope to be there on a good day. If I'm not there on a good day, it doesn't matter.
Wow. What about the boat? This is a very specific kind of boat that you've been required to have for this. How long has the search taken you to find the right boat?
So I've been searching for the right boat since 2017, when I first thought about going for the race. I wasn't actively looking, but I was looking, and I couldn't find the right one. There was a boat that, and there were specific 2020 designs which are approved, pre-approved by the race, and most of them are Europe centric, so very difficult to find. One of the only designs that was very North American was a very slower design, so I didn't want that. I wanted to have the best equipment possible. So it took some time. It took some researching. It took some annoying people, uh, meeting some owners who are not really upfront, and I would agree with that. Like, everyone has a better value for their boat, for their house, for their car. um, so I met some of those, saw some really bad boats, and yeah, and then I made like thousands of calculations, simulations, uh, of which boat would be the fastest design, which would be the best to survive in those seas, which boat would be safest. I have like an Excel sheet of polar diagrams. Polar diagrams are basically how the boat would do in certain conditions, of all kinds. Excel sheets, like, I just immerse myself for 1 month just making that thing. I have a list of 2000 designs and polar diagrams of all those designs, trying to figure out which one is right. And then I narrowed down to three of them. Um, and I started looking around. And then after looking, and then what I would do is I would reach out to owners directly instead of going through brokers and online sites, saying, I am doing this race. Do you want your, like, I know you're probably not in the mood to you don't want to sell your boat, but your boat is now going to go in the sea with you living on the marina. But I'm going to take it around the world. So if you want to see that happen to your boat, reach out to me, and if you want to sell it to me. And that's what happened. Few people reached out to me, tried to sell their boats. Not all of them were ones I wanted. And then I found Good Hope in New York. Uh, it
Before you
was a
get to
sick.
Good Hope,
Yeah,
can I
yeah,
ask you, what are some of the places that you went to? And again, to reset it, you're here in London, Ontario, Canada,
yeah, yeah.
where you live now. What are some of the places that you went to investigate the boats to see if they were the right fit?
So first, I went to Europe to see a few boats so that I could take them from Europe to Canada, sail them across the Atlantic Ocean, and test them out, and then sail them. But that was just becoming a very expensive affair. Then I went to Seattle to see a few boats. Then I went. Then the weekend that I found Good Hope, I drove all the way to Norfolk, Virginia, overnight, and then drove from there to New York. And I had completely given up hope. I actually didn't want to see Good Hope because I was not interested. I was tired, and I was just angry that I wasn't finding the right boat. And that's where I found her in New York.
I didn't know that you'd gone to Europe. Wow. So
Mhm.
what I'm trying to get across is that this isn't just any boat, and that finding it, like what you described about all the calculations and all of that, I didn't realize that either. I'm not surprised, as I get to know you and now that you've shared it. But I'm wondering if the people that are watching or listening are starting to relate back as they hear your words. They're thinking about things that have been important to them in their lives, and the journey to find that, to connect with that, the sort of, you know it when you see it, and then arriving. I mean, it could be something as simple as looking for the right
Yeah,
house or home. And I really relate to that feeling of frustration and almost hopelessness. And here you've got this dream, but you've got this one critical piece that just seems to continue to elude you, no matter how far you go. And it sounds like you were almost at your lowest point, and then Good Hope.
yes,
And what a story about that boat.
yeah,
Would you please tell it?
yeah. I think few months ago, Todd Rangel, who's the previous owner of the boat, reached out to me through. So I'd emailed all the owners of that design of the boat. It's called the Baba 35. I emailed all of them saying who wants to sell. Todd emailed back saying I have one boat to sell. He quoted a price which was out of my range. I completely ignored that email. I said, okay, thank you. I might think about it. Um, and I honestly told him that your price is too high. Your boat is in too good a condition for me to rip it apart to make it a racing boat. And I would hate doing that. And I completely forgot about it. And then I kept looking at other boats. None of them worked out. And then I found this boat in Virginia that I really wanted. And so I said, if I'm driving all the way to Virginia, I might as well look at Todd's boat. So went to Virginia, drove all night, saw the boat. First sight, I was like, I didn't like this boat. I don't want this boat. I didn't even want to step on it. It was in terrible shape. And then I was just sad. Went to New York, slept overnight at the Airbnb. Woke up in the morning, went to the boat. Uh, Todd and his wife Judith just welcomed me with an amazing smile, and I parked the boat with my front facing the back of like the boat was behind me when I parked it, and I got out of the car, opened the door, got out of the car, saw the boat. Just the boat found me. I found the boat. I don't know, but it was just love at first sight. Then Todd and Judith, amazing couple. They've been living on the boat for 12 years. Amazing smile. Uh, yeah, saw the boat, loved everything about it. We hugged. I said bye. I'll think about it. Came back, found out there is a custom duty because this boat was built in Taiwan, which was going to make my cost very high. With HST as well, we have to pay in Canada. Um, I emailed Todd saying, Todd, I can't buy this boat beyond my budget. Todd said, we can work something out. I ignored the email again. Uh, and then 2 weeks later, Todd called me up saying, I am going to give you this boat. I'll finance it myself at zero interest from my own pocket. The price is almost half of what our original discussion was. And he said he's going to come to France for the race start. And he said, this boat is very special to me. And I hope it takes you around and takes you back home safe, brings you back home safe.
Um, that's such a. Is this the dog that you came outside to avoid?
No, it's someone else's dog.
Is it a neighbor's dog?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we can't control the neighbor's dog.
Yeah.
Doesn't that dog know that we're trying to do a podcast?
Not really.
Dog, we're getting to some good stuff here.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a little bit of a diversion. That's what happens when you do stuff live. You were thinking that your dog might react to something a little earlier, and so that's one of the reasons why you came outside, right?
Yes.
Funny, the sweet irony. I'm going to ask you, Gaurav, if you'll go over that last part again, in case we lost anybody or they got distracted by that yipping dog.
Yeah.
And before you do that, I'd like to ask you, when you stepped in front of that boat and you just kind of knew, because it sounds like, I think what I heard you say was love at first sight.
Yes.
You're kidding me with this dog. Okay, everybody, let's ignore the dog. All right, we're gonna have to focus in here because we want to hear the rest of Gaurav's story.
I'm so sorry.
No, you know what? I'm going to ask you to give me a long answer, and then I'm going to drive over and I'll bring the dog a treat or something. But what was that? With love at first sight, how would you describe that feeling? How did you know that was the boat?
I don't know. So if any sailors are watching there, this boat has a very beautiful bottom, a backside, which is just different. Like when you come to see my boat at the dock, you will see it. It is a very older design. It is a design by a designer called Robert Perry. His boats are just completely classic and beautiful. And this boat was painted really well. This boat was just, I don't know, it was just beautiful. Like there is like small gold plating on the side with a design on it, which was done by Judith on on the morning of her wedding, she was working on the boat. So that boat just has heart into it. They left like, they left a small lizard which Judith's mom gifted to Todd when they actually officially started dating. And then there is a small frog which has been on the boat since forever, which is a god, a frog god from the Philippines. So that boat just had it. It was just, you just see it and you know it. That's the boat, and that's how it was. I really can't describe the feeling. It was yeah, as I said, love at first sight.
I think some of your sailing friends know what you're talking about, because when you reached out to them and you said, they'll know that you had a nice bottom. I saw a couple of likes and loves pop in there. So I'm guessing that's part of your brethren, and we appreciate you joining us.
So yeah, so
Let
if you see normal boats, they have a flat in the back. This boat is like a canoe. It has ends on both sides, so that's
Gotcha.
why this boat has a pointed backside. But to maximize space, it's a bit broader and it looks beautiful.
Does that help it go quicker?
Um,
Like there's a
I'm
broad flat, if the end, the stern, I guess, is sort of a flat back, and then it comes wider. I'm just wondering if that creates more
no,
drag, if the tapered
no,
end helps it go through the water better.
not
No?
not a lot, but some people do say that people boats with canoe sterns are good at heavy sea when is there heavy seas. When there are big seas, canoe sterns are really nice. But it totally depends on the philosophy of the designer. And this Robert Perry is an amazing guy. Recently, he said he's going to support me, and it's the entire community of Robert Perry design boats is behind me now, and it's just I just love this boat.
Wow. We've there have been a couple comments that have come in through the course of the conversation. One that was just shared, I'm guessing, is somebody that you'll know who this is from. It says, "Get the frog back to the Philippines."
Yeah, he's a very good friend of mine, and he's a lovely sailor.
Wonderful. Kyle piped in earlier, says, this is a movie waiting to happen. And right as we started the conversation, Pat Lawless said, looking forward to seeing each other at the start. Hopefully we can finish. Not many do, but we have good boats and health. And we certainly wish everybody that's taking part in this lots and lots of that in the race and besides. Okay,
Yes.
I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that things can stay quiet there in the neighborhood. If
Yep.
you would take us back there just again to where you'd gotten to the point where you'd called the owner back and basically said, this is just, the boat's outside my budget. You're thinking it isn't going to happen, even though you're absolutely in love with this boat's bottom and all the rest of it besides. Sans barking dog, I hope. What was it that happened after that? Because I think this is really special. Would you mind sharing it again?
Yeah, I think it comes back to being honest. I was honest about my love for the boat, about what this journey that I'm taking, that I'm taking on, and I think that resonated with Todd, and that's why he did offer me what he offered me. So I told him I couldn't afford it at this point, and it was just like, because I have to redo a lot of the boat to make it a race ready boat. So I would spend a lot more money. So I thought I would rather have a boat which I have to spend less on. So I would pay more for it upfront, but I wouldn't have to do a lot more modifications. That's what I had thought about. So, but Todd reached out to me saying he wants me to have the boat, and he said he would personally finance it. He had spoken to the previous owners before him also, and they had supported the decision. And I think that's just being true to yourself, true to your story, true to what you're taking on. And I think that resonated with Todd. He is a very genuine person. Judith too. They both met on the boat. It's a special boat for them, and I think that just worked out for all of us.
It's an incredible story already, and we're still a long way away. It'll go by quickly, though, before the
Yep.
race in 2022. At what point in the year does the race start in 2022?
September 4th, 2022.
Okay, so you're a little bit less than 2 years out at the time that we record this. You're 23 months away. What needs to happen between now and then for you to get ready for
No,
this?
we are 34 months away. 3 years from now.
Yeah, well, you're the 3M engineer. I'm
Yeah.
just the talking head. What year
What
is
happened?
it? It depends on when
It's
you're watching it.
2019. Uh,
Thank you for having me go. I told you there would be ignorance. Holy
yeah.
cow! Thanks for having me. Okay, but still,
Yeah.
it'll go by quickly. That sounds like it's a long way away. It'll go by in a flash. But what all needs to happen between now and then? Like, why did you have to get the boat almost 3 years ahead? Because what all else
Uh,
has to take place here?
One, I have to get used to it. I have to get equipment on the boat, which I would prefer, which I can test it out, which I know I can depend upon. Um, the third thing is this is a boat which was made for living aboard. People live on this. People live their lives on it. I am not going to live my life on it. I'm going to race this boat, so I have to make it a race boat. I have to change the sail. I have to change the mast. I have to change the internal. I have to remove all the heavy teak from it and put uh, light wood to replace it. Change all the fancy electronics that are there on the boat right now. It has like Todd loved the boat and he put like an electric engine, solar panels, and crazy stuff, crazy electronical like fancy gadgets into it, which all have to go out and new ones go in. And then it's a 40-year-old boat, so it needs it needs its part of love and care, which I have to give it. And there are some things that you don't require on the boat. There are some repairs on the boat you can ignore if you are going to sail in Lake Ontario, but there are some things that need changing on the boat if it's going to go in the Southern Ocean. So it's all that plus practice. I'm going to sail the Lake Ontario series, sail across the Atlantic. um, Apart from that, I think I want to attract media. I want to take people out sailing, people like you, people, listeners, uh, take you out sailing and see, let you experience Good Hope and how sailing is, and get the entire country behind me. I belong to two countries, India and Canada. I want to get both those countries behind me. The media people, probably get some sponsors on the way. So yeah, it's 3 years is a long. It's not a long time for all that.
Uh, I love what you just said. I belong to two countries,
Mm,
and you tried to slip that by me, but I did hear it.
yeah,
Boy, I'm just looking at my own video feed. It looks like I'm sitting here in the dark. Huh?
yeah.
Anyway, it's better for people if they can't see me. It's certainly more enjoyable. Wow. I'm having some ideas. I was going to ask you about sponsorship, and if you're looking to take some people out on the boat. Wow, I know some people. I know one of them who is watching right now,
Yep.
who's left a couple comments, who knows a lot of business people, but they don't have to necessarily be just business people here in London, Ontario. Do they couldn't they be from pretty much anywhere around the world?
Yes, it's a global race. So, and I'm going to be sailing around the world. Today's world is online, digital. Anything can happen. And I would like to say I would give them the best bang for the money, because I am good at digital marketing, because that's what I do for work. And also, I'm the youngest person right now. In terms of Canadian companies, I am the only Canadian in the race right now. And if I do finish, I'll be the first Canadian to ever have done a non-stop around the world. So yeah, there is there are lots of plus points for sponsors to come on board. And yeah, it's I have a following which will be 30 odd million of people of Canada, and 1.2 billion Indians who will get behind me. So I have potentially the largest audience out there.
What kind of things are you looking for, or that you need? And maybe to be more direct about that question, maybe for sponsorship and support.
Mhm.
I'm guessing cash is always king because then you
Yeah.
can convert that into whatever that you need. But are there in kind sorts of contributions that people can make if they just want to be a part of it and show their support? What sort of things are you looking for and do you need, Gaurav?
I think best in kind support will be if people can come help me out preparing the boat. I'm not going to go to a professional yard. As I said, at the age of 11 and 12, I learned how to build boats. So I know what I'm doing with the boat. So if people can come to the yard, come to the marina and help me out with those repairs, with old equipment that they have, old grinders, old drills, old saws that they can give out to me. I can use them to repair, and if they can spend weekends with me on the boat, I would definitely give them a great return by taking over them out sailing when the boat is on the water. But I could always use a hand while doing that. And then at the end, if there are small safety equipments, safety equipment, there is radio equipment, which is not very expensive. It's a few $100, sometimes less than $100. If they could gift them to the boat, that will be lovely.
How can people connect with you, Gaurav, and continue this conversation so that they can get on board this journey?
The best way to connect with me is my Facebook page, facebook.com/Gaurav Shinde Sailing. My website, that is gauravshinde.com. And my email is gaurav@gauravshinde.com. So if you reach out to me, I am very responsive most of the times. I will get back to you. And my boat is right now in St. Catharines. If you want to come visit, let me know. I can show you around the boat. Next weekend, I'm going to start working on, over the long weekend, I'm going to rip apart a good part of my deck to install a new one. If you want to come help out, if you're not doing anything on the long weekend, if you don't have family here, become my family and come to the boat and help me out.
I hardly know what to say, Gaurav. I'm filled with so many more questions. I already know the answer if I ask you if you'll come back and do another follow up, just telling stories of things that you've already experienced, let alone of those that you're likely to experience. But you embody to me everything that really fascinates me about people and why I'm involved in doing something like this. And with Mo Mondays London, it amazes me how we probably walk by hundreds or maybe thousands of people every single day and have no idea about what they have to share, the experience, the passion, the creativity, the drive, the aspirations, the dreams. And every time I think of you, every time I see your name, every time I'm lucky enough to share space or a conversation with you, I'm reminded of that, and it slows me down a little bit to remind me that maybe we think we know about other people, but we really don't know. And if we can just ask them and open up, they can open entire worlds to us.
Yes.
And maybe I sound like I'm exaggerating, but to me, you're like the Indiana Jones of the sea. Who would that be? I don't know. That's a stupid analogy, but I really appreciate you. I'm really grateful that I jumped into something that's important to me, and you have jumped in something that's important to you, and those two things have connected us together.
Yes.
And now we get to do something like this and hopefully share your passion and drive with other people, and just maybe that will encourage somebody else to go and take the jump and do what's important to them. It's kind of a neat feeling, isn't it?
Yep, that is absolutely like that. It's a lot of people have dreams, take their dreams to the grave, and they if you, when you die with just a dream, I don't think you'll be remembered for that dream. You'll be remembered for the memories you create, and the memories you create is when you start uh, actioning on those dreams that you have. Just dreaming dreams is not the end of it. Like Elon Musk did. He dreamt of going to Mars, and he's doing his absolute best to go there. And I think that's what we all should do. And especially people like us who are fortunate enough to have the means, have friends, have people around us, have the ability to do such things, because there are lots of people in this world who do not have the means to even start dreaming about what they want to do. So I think it's a great responsibility for many of us, especially us living in the first world, to really go out there, inspire, to do things that will change the world. And that's how it is. And one more thing. Hi, Chris. Chris is my boss. He's online. He's watching.
What you said, Gaurav, there was absolutely perfect. I won't even try to add to it. Thank you for that. Thank you for this. Thank you for being who you are. And please keep me up to date so I can keep anybody that I'm connected with up to date. But I suspect we'll be talking again. I hope so and look forward to it. But thank you so much for this, and good luck.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. I think the next podcast, when we do it, we should do it from the boat itself, live out at sea. But thank you so much. This has been a pleasure being on the podcast. I loved the conversation, and I'm just so glad. Like I'm just so thankful for the London, Ontario community to make me their own, and I really appreciate the support.
We love having you. That was pretty slick how you slid that in there in public while you knew people were watching and it was being recorded. So
Yes.
well played, my friend. We'll find
Yeah.
out exactly what I'm made of here shortly then, but I appreciate the invitation. Gaurav, thank you again. That's Gaurav Shinde. You can find out more about what he's doing at gauravshinde.com. And I will post those links with the blog post for this episode, which is number 90, episode 90 of Journeys with the No Schedule Man. You can find, or you will be able to find, if you're watching the live or listening to, well, watching the live feed right now, it'll take me just a little bit to get the recordings up on YouTube and then the audio turned around onto iTunes and Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and all of those, but it certainly will. If you're listening or watching to one of those feeds, then it's old news. It's already happened. But either way, you can find the entire archive of episodes of Journeys with the No Schedule Man at noscheduleman.com, or you can just go right directly to noschedulemanpodcast.com. While you're there, I encourage you to enter your email and sign up for free so that I can keep you up to date of more stories of adventure. Well, I don't know if I want to say like Gaurav, because I don't know how many more there are like Gaurav, but there are some stories in the archive that that you really will enjoy if you'd enjoyed this story. The Turtle Tribe membership community is currently closed for new members right now, but we'll be reopening that soon. That's my online mindset and marketing mastermind community. And you'll be able to find some information about that there online, and blogs, videos, and all kinds of great stuff is available there at noscheduleman.com. I want to say thank you to Connect One Consulting, to Susan and Luke from Travel Agents in Action, Carol at Trickett Financial, Gord at Connect One Consulting. Also thanks to Laura at Diamond and Gold Treasures, and to Brett at Provincial Glass and Mirror, and of course Mo Mondays London, which actually brought Gaurav and I together. And more than anything, I want to thank you for, I hope, enjoying some time with Gaurav and with me. And I hope that you'll go out and take on those adventures and make those dreams happen. Don't get to the end with regret. Let's go and do it now and support each other while we're along the way. I'm Kevin Bulmer. This is Journeys with the No Schedule Man. Thanks for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time.